Hello everyone. Today we are going to deploy Galera Manager on a node, and then we are going to deploy one Percona XtraDB cluster node, because you have to do this 3 times or 6 times or 9 times. It's entirely up to you. We're going to deploy one node on a machine that does not have any MySQL. So firstly, I'm going to pull down this little bit here of what I'm going to wget. Then I'm going to make the installer executable. I'm going to check to make sure I've got the latest version, and then I'm going to hit the install button. Enter a password. Then it wants to know what the IP might be. And while this is happening, here is a test node with nothing on it. While you are waiting for the installation to happen, you can of course peruse the documentation, and at the same time I highly recommend taking a look at the blog. You will realize we have a latest release here, and if you look at the documentation again, you will know there is a little bit of information about what kind of ports you may actually have to open. So of course here we have a little bit of documentation. So if we go to the GMD node, one of the biggest things to do is of course hit up a security group, edit the inbound rules, add port 8081, hit save rules. Go back to the dashboard. And I'd say the installation is almost done. As you can see, it is now done. We should probably obviously log in. As you can see, we can deploy managed clusters, user provided hosts or an existing cluster. So this is a basic VM, just Ubuntu 22.04. So let's provide it on a user provided host. We'll call it PXC, and we'll make it Ubuntu 22.04. Then naturally we hit the create button. First things first, let's copy the key. We've already put it. This is a previous key. So I've added it. Now I'm going to add the node, call it PXC1, and I believe the IP address is here. Let's check the access. All seems well. Let's hit the deploy button. Just as a memory, there is still no MySQL here. You can actually take a look at the logs to see what's happening at any given time. Your ideal is to see 3 green ticks. This should happen fairly soon. And it's actually a pretty easy install. So again, while all this is happening, the documentation is probably still a very good thing to take a look at. And remember that Galera Manager can also run multiple managed clusters. So you could have deployed hosts, you could have AWS, you just be monitoring hosts all within the same instance of Galera Manager, as long as you have enough disk space, because naturally it takes up a lot of disk. So in this particular case, we have a fairly small disk, only deployed 8 gigabytes, and you'll realize that there's only 5.5 gigabytes here. So on a typically busy server, this probably will give you a couple of days worth of log storage before you actually run out of space. So we're very, very close to already having a ready MySQL. As you can see, it's running the recovery, preparing the first node. And it looks like everything is done, hunky-dory. If I type MySQL now, not only does it exist, we of course have a cluster size of 1. And if I log on here, I also have an SSH terminal, which is exactly the same. And of course you can see what's going on. So naturally the next thing to do is you should just hit add node. Of course, spin up another instance or have an existing blank server and do the same exact thing over and over again. You can of course grab SSH keys as well, and you can have a 3-node Galera cluster powered by Percona XtraDB Cluster 8.0 extremely easily via this method. Good luck and enjoy the deployment going forward. Thank you for trying out Galera Manager, product of Codaship.